Hello everyone, Tom Cosm here. Welcome to part 2 of a 3-part series that I'm making on how to phrase your tracks, how to create tension and release using rising up effects, falling effects, build-ups, crashes, splashes, that kind of thing. The first video was, I guess, the beginner video, which was we used simple synthesis to create, a nice white noise whoosh and a bit of a falling effect. Today we're going to be looking at a bit more of an intermediate one. We're going to be using a Max for Live device and various other things like pitch shifting and whatnot. I'm using Splice alongside with these tutorial videos so I can share the actual project file with you guys as you go along. If you go to the link in the description, you'll see that my track is uploaded here. In the last version, we saved it. If I click on more tracks here, we can scroll down and see that here is the riser and the faller that we created in the last version. So this is the new version of the track. This is the one I'm going to start working with today. Go to Splice and check it out if you want to download it. I've been using Splice and loving it in the last few weeks. It's kind of an online unlimited storage cloud service where you just sync up a folder on your computer and any work you do on your project gets saved and uploaded straight away. Really good for collaborations and really good for publicly sharing things like I'm doing today. So in this video, we've got a couple of phrases in this track where things happen. Like for example, at this point here, we've got this melody that comes in. So I'm going to insert a location marker and call it melody. So we've already got kind of a riser and a faller thing there. I've already made one, but we'll just call this melody drop. And I'm going to just do a little bit of work here. We're going to spend like 5 minutes on creating a simple little effect here. The main one over here is this big drop here. So this is where everything kind of cuts out and then it builds up and up and up, and we want something really hectic for when this drops here. And we'll be using a Max for Live effect for that. But just for now, let's go back to this melody. I just want to create a little build up here. And I'm going to be using a technique that I use quite a lot, and I think I have mentioned in some videos before, but it's always different. So let's find where that melody is. So here's that melody, and you'll see I've got an instrument rack with a bunch of chains. They're all operators. Cool little melody kind of sound. But what I want to do is I want to kind of introduce that sound before it actually happens, but not give it away what it actually is. This is a really good way of creating quick announcement type drops, because it's really what you're doing is you're announcing something's coming, and if you can give people a little comfortable taste of what it's going to be when it finally does actually hit, it's quite pleasurable. People kind of feel this release of tension. So steady on. I'm going to create a new audio track down here. We're going to be using audio for this, and I'm going to call this, we'll say, Melody Riser. And what I want to do here is I want to take a quick sample recording of that melody. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that sample and I'm going to bring it back in the arrangement, probably 4 bars or so. And I'm not too sure what I'm going to do yet, but we're going to play that sample and do something to it. So it's kind of, again, hinting at the melody that's about to play. So I need to go into my ins and outs here. In Ableton Live, you can specify where the audio comes from and where the audio goes to, so it's going to the master at the moment, which is what we want. The input at the moment is external, and we don't want that. We want the input to come from, what did I call that track? Let's have a look. It is synth number 6. So, back to the melody rise, click on the input, and I'm going to choose synth number 6. So now the audio of synth number 6 is coming into this track. So if I hit record, and hit record here, that'll do. So we've just caught a little snippet of that. If I solo this, now we can do all kinds of cool things here. Let's see what it sounds like if we just reverse that clip that we recorded. Actually, first thing I'm going to do, the clip actually extends out here because I didn't have my punch out marker set. So I'm going to drag that back so it's a perfect 1-bar loop, and I'm going to consolidate it. Command J, which turns it into a perfect 1-bar loop for us. Let's reverse it, see what it sounds like. I'm just going to use that, which is actually the first note reversed. So I'm going to Command E that, get rid of this stuff. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to give it a reverb. This is a cool effect. If you give it a reverse sound a reverb, and then reverse it back again, you get a reverse reverb, and it kind of leads up to the actual sound. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to give it maximum wet value, because we're not actually going to play this note. We just want the reverb tail that builds up towards that note, because the original Synth 6, which is where the melody is, will play that first note for us. So let's just listen to that. I'll give it quite a lot of decay time. So a lot of time on that reverb. And it's lasting about 6 seconds. We'll make it 10, see how that sounds. Sounds good to me. Now I'm going to flatten this track, freeze it first. So as I said in my previous video, this goes through and creates a quick kind of resampled version of it for us. And now I can choose flatten. So I've frozen it and then I've flattened it. And now we have, let me just extend that out so it's one nice clip. Now we have that whole clip. The reverb is gone. It's created a whole new audio clip for us with all that reverb applied. So let's hit play now. Very good. So now what we can do is I'm going to drag this back so it's exactly 4 bars long, and I can double click it and reverse it again. So now we have a reversed reverb leading up to that first note. And if we bring this back here, I'm going to zoom in just to make sure we get this at the right point. So I can see that this is where the note hits. So I can get rid of that, because remember this Synth 6 is going to take over that. So now we've got this build up to that first note. Let's see how it sounds. I'm going to bring the volume up on the actual clip. That's pretty cool. Let's add a auto pan. So an auto pan will pan it from left to right at a particular rate that you specify. Here's the amount. This is how much of the auto pan is happening. This is the rate, is how fast it goes. So let's start it really fast here and bring it down like this. Even keep it really fast until the last kind of beat. Let's turn the phasing off so it doesn't go from left to right, it's only applying to the volume. I think it goes down too fast. That's pretty cool. Sounding good. I just want to experiment. Let's try and transpose this down. Let's bring it back up to 0, but let's go into the actual clip, choose the envelopes mode, and change the clip transpose, so we actually draw a line of that going from low to high. Make sure we're on a different algorithm for the warping, maybe complex mode. Beats mode isn't appropriate for this kind of sound because there's no actual beats, so we'll choose complex. This is the way it changes the pitch without screwing up the timing. Maybe if we bring this back a bit and not have such a drastic pitch change. Maybe if we go down, so we start at a higher pitch and go down instead of down and up. What we'll do is we'll make it hit that 0 semitones, so make it the original pitch of what the synth is a little bit early, so it's not so kind of shocking, or it matches up better. And this rate of the auto pan, I'm going to give it its own channel here, so we can just muck around with it a bit more. I'm going to make it start not so fast. And just for fun, I'm going to duplicate this track let's have, let's take this, but let's bring it up. What could we do? Let's say 7 semitones. A fifth. Let's see if that works. And I'm going to split one to the left and one to the right. Maybe if we had the one that's 5 semitones going up and transpose instead of down, that could be interesting. And maybe not have them exactly left and exactly right. It's a bit too kind of spatial. Maybe around 30 is good. Okay, I'm happy with that just for that little drop there. I just thought I'd chuck that in at the start. Really good technique, really quick way to introduce an element. Let's move on to that really big drop. So this is where the big breakdown happens. Locator marker. And this is where it drops. Big drop to call it. You can call it whatever you like. Excellent. So let's go down the bottom here. I'm going to create one, what should we use? We'll use a MIDI track again, one more MIDI track, and we'll call this Big Riser. I'm going to create a MIDI clip in between these 2 points where the breakdown happens and the breakdown drops, like so. I'm going to put in one giant note. I am going to use a G this time because we're going to be using pitch. So let's drag this out all the way. I want this to be a really big pitch bend, so I'm going to go into envelopes mode. And we're going to set a point of the bottommost value all the way to the top. So this is sending a pitch shift value to whatever synthesizer or sampler we decide to load. It's going to go from the bottom all the way up. It's going to hit the midpoint at exactly 8 bars and then continue to go up all the way to the top. And we'll introduce an instrument rack because we're going to have different chains and different synths happening here. So we'll put in an instrument rack, open up our macros, and I'm going to choose the macro before I even assign anything to it, and I'm going to make that macro go from closed to open as well. So even though we haven't got any synthesizers yet, we've set the shell of what we want to happen, which is quite cool. So let's introduce a synthesizer for a start. I'm ad-libbing here, by the way, so we're going to experiment. We're going to find something cool. I'll explain to you what we're doing. If we do hit something which isn't cool, I'll explain why it isn't cool and what we did wrong, but so bear with me with that. So let's introduce a new instrument. I'm going to put in an operator, and we've got a sine wave. Let's just listen to it straight away. Solo. So it's slowly creeping up with that transpose, that pitch bend, in the envelopes area. But if we go into our synthesizer, we can specify how drastic that pitch bend is. Some people, when they're starting out and they're trying to use this pitch bend mode envelope, they wonder why they can't get more of a range. It's actually synthesizer specific. So if we go into our operator and we click over, where is it? Over here in this kind of, it's more of a general panel. You'll notice we have a pitch parameter here and it says +5 semitones, ST for semitones. So that means when this is down at the bottom, it's going to be -5, and when it's up here, it's going to be +5. Well, we want to change that, and the most amount we can do is 24, which is 2 octaves. So that's going to go from 2 octaves below all the way up to 2 octaves high with the normal octave in the middle. So that should be a much more drastic effect. Let's have a listen to that. So now we're really low. We've got a sub. It's building up. Anyway, you get the idea. We're going to change this oscillator. So we'll turn off these 3 because we're not using them for now. We might use them, but not for now. We'll change that to a saw. Bring the volume down a bit because it's going to be loud. We've got 3 volume controls here. I'm using the one in the actual synthesizer. We've got another one over here on our chain, and we've got another one over here on our master channel. I'd leave the master channel one. Just because we want to use that for levels if things get a bit high later on. I'm just using it here for now. So there's our square wave. let's bring the filter down. So it's a low pass filter, cuts out all the high frequencies, give it some more resonance. So let's map that frequency to the first macro knob, because we want that to open up as the whole build up happens. And let's turn on the LFO, and by default it's assigned to the pitch of A, B, C, and D, which are all these filters here. Oscillator pitch controls. So if we bring the amount up, it's going to make the pitch go all crazy. Turn the filter off so we can hear it. So let's map the amount of that LFO to the macro 1. And the rate as well to the macro 1. So as that builds up, it's going to get much more intense. Turn the filter back on. Let's give it some spread. Pretty intense. Okay, now what I've thought about here is this amount is good. It's a good parameter to have in this build up, but it doesn't really sound appropriate slowly building up over this clip, because it starts slowly pitch wobbling around here, and it kind of takes you away from, hey, this tune actually has a chord structure and a melody and a root note and a key. So I'm going to introduce a new object here for you. This is a free download. I'll put the link in the description. This is a Max for Live device I've created called, where is it? I've got a lot here. Where are we? Multistage Knob. There it is. Sorry about that. So Max for Live is a interesting type of programming language that people can build their own devices in Ableton Live, and I've made a few utilities which I think are really handy. So I'm going to be using this one today, and I'm going to drag this down after the operator, like so. And this is what it looks like here. Again, this is going to be free, and what this does is it has one master knob in the middle, and it has these split points here, and depending on where the master knob is, as you move it up, it will move 5 separate parameters of anything in Ableton Live that you wish to assign. It will move them in stages. So to give you an example, I'm going to hit the split evenly button, and it will split these, put these split points evenly across the spectrum. So now we have 5 areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in between the points. So as I move the master knob up, I'm going to turn snapping on, which keeps everything in line. As I move the master knob up, you'll see parameter 1 is going up over here. And then it hits that first split point, and then parameter 2 is going to go up, and then parameter 3, and parameter 4, and parameter 5. Now this is good because maybe we just want that amount to happen at the final stages of this build-up, so that's really, really handy. So I'm going to drag this multi-stage knob into the rack after the operator. It doesn't actually matter where this device is in your chain of audio, because it doesn't actually affect the audio. It's only a utility, so it doesn't really matter where it is. So I'm just going to put it after the synthesizer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the map. Oh, I'm not going to do that yet, sorry. I'm going to go into my macros, and I'm going to map this master knob to that first macro. So that master knob now is going to be automated along with everything. And these 5 parameters are slowly going to open up. And of course, these 5 parameters all have their own mapping options. So I can assign these to anything within the synthesizer or any more audio effects I create, and they'll slowly open up one by one. So I'm kind of working backwards here, but it doesn't matter. This 5th parameter, I'm going to detach the amount of the amount on that synthesizer on the LFO, I'm going to unmap it from the macro one. I'm also going to unmap the rate. So let's go out of mapping mode. Let's map that 5th parameter to the rate, and let's map the 4th parameter to the amount. So what that means is when this master knob gets to its 4th and 5th stages, it's going to start bringing in the LFO, and then the last stage it's going to start speeding up the LFO. That's going to be good. Let's not listen to it right now because we need to fill up these other 3 parameters here with something else interesting. So what can we do? Let's play with the other oscillators here. So we've got 1 oscillator at the moment, but we've got 3 more, and if you go over into this mode, we've got these different kind of algorithms of how these oscillators work together. This way means all 4 of them get mixed together into a final signal. So we could play a note here. I'm going to turn off the filter. We could play a note here. I'm going to turn this one on and bring up the volume and say change that to a square. Now we have a square and a sine playing perfectly together. But we can also route these in really interesting ways, and this one over on the far left is a frequency modulation mode, and what that means is that this oscillator, instead of actually playing a waveform and going out the output, getting mixed with the original saw wave and going out the output, this oscillator now actually changes the pitch of this oscillator. So it works like a really fast LFO. So this will send information to this oscillator, well, the pitch of this oscillator, really fast information on what to do. So I'm going to change this back to a sine wave now and bring the level down, and let's just play that and listen and see how it affects the sound. And what we've actually got happening here is we've got a little bit of LFO amount happening, which is not what we want. So if I go back to the start of the clip, master knob, we need to bring these down. So let's just reset that. Hang on a minute. Here we go. So now I can play these notes. So that's really giving it a lot of grunt. Let's try a different waveform. Let's try a 4-bit sine wave. It's quite angry, isn't it? What we can do is let's change this original oscillator to a sine wave, because once you start frequency modulating it with another one, we get that harshness. So it's going to be really, really smooth because it's a sine wave at the start, but if we play with this level, it's going to get really harsh. Let's try with a normal sine wave. The thing with frequency modulated synthesis is you have to do a lot of trial and error. Subtractive synthesis is quite easy to picture in your head and what it's going to sound like, but unless you have had a lot of experience with frequency modulated synthesis, it can be a little bit daunting trying to think about the sound you want and then building it. I mean, you can, some people can. I can a little bit, but so that's a sine wave frequency modulating it. We can also change the pitch of the modulating signal. You notice it doesn't go up in hertz or anything, it actually goes up in harmonics. So if we change it to 2, the frequency of this modulating oscillator is actually going to be double the frequency of whatever note we play. Quite a cool sound for just 2 sine waves. Let's change this to, say, a saw wave. Let's see what that sounds like. I kind of like that. You can really hear the harmonics. What if we change the course to 4, which is again an octave, which is the 4th harmonic? Nope. Let's try it 1. Let's try it at 0.5, which is half of the frequency that the original root note is. I might play with that. So let's say that parameter 3 in this multi-stage knob is the level of oscillator number 2, which is the modulating signal on the original sine. Oops, what did I do there? No, we want it to be that one. Should we turn it off? Got to have this on once. That was a mistake, sorry. So that's cool. Now we need parameter 1. What could we do? Let's say parameter 1 is... Let's add an audio effect into the chain. Let's use a redux. I'm kind of looking for something that will add harshness to a sine wave, and a redux is a good way to do that. It reduces the bitrate, or it crunches it up. It's kind of a distortion. So let's put a redux between the operator and the multi-stage knob. It has 2 modes. It has a hard mode, which is quite harsh, and it has a soft mode. I'm going to play a lower tone because this is where it's going to be happening when there's a lower tone. So soft mode, here's a note, let's bring it up. That kind of sounds cool. So let's try mapping this to the downsample soft mode. So that's parameter 2. Actually, no. Yeah, no, we'll keep it there. I'm not sure what we could do with parameter 1 because it's going to be a really smooth sine wave. So what we can actually do is I can get rid of split point 1 and put these out like this. And that means that only parameters 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to work. Now I have no idea what this is going to sound like, but let's have a listen. And we have to turn that filter on again. Oops, make sure you hit the back to arrangement button. What the hell is happening there? That was really strange. I have no idea why it's doing that. Seems to be the redux doing some kind of weird thing. How bizarre. Let's try changing the minimum and maximum values of the redux and see if it still does that. See how it stops and it gets to that split point? I'll have to say it's probably something to do with my coding inside this device rather than an Ableton Live bug. That's so strange. I wonder if we turn the redux off. Okay, well that's not working. So let's get rid of the redux. Let's try something else. Put it in there. I'd love to go in and try and figure out what's going on there a bit later, but because I'm rolling along in this video, it's not a good idea. Vocoder, why not? That's a weird thing to choose. Let's put a vocoder in there. What if we do external mode or modulator mode? So that just kind of mixes white noise with the original signal, which could be a good starting point. So maybe if we assign that format to this one here, which was originally the redux. It's quite strange. So you could hear the amount of the LFO coming in there, and then the rate of the LFO happening. The amount was way too high, so we'll bring the minimum value down to about 50. This one started off way too low, so we'll put that one, the maximum 50 for the amount, minimum 50 for the rate. Let's see if that makes a difference. What else? Hang on, before we start it. Because this is long and we have to listen to it from the start every time, we might as well try and get as many things done correctly before we start playing it. The level of that frequency modulating oscillator was too high. So that one was oscillator B level, so let's bring the max value down to, say, 85. And I want to put a reverb after everything, just to smooth it all out. It's always, just to smooth it all out. I'll bring it back after the multistage knob. Yep. And give it a bit of decay time, just to smooth everything out. Ooh, it's quite intense. Let's have a listen to it with the actual tune. Super intense. I'm kind of happy with that for now. What I'd probably end up doing to change that even more is I'd resample it. Actually, we'll do that now. I won't actually do anything to it, but we'll resample it, or a quick way is to freeze it, like we're doing here. So again, it flattens everything. Hopefully it does it right. Should do it right. A lot of things to process in here, so it's going to take us a few seconds. You can see it all kind of ticking along there, moving all the parameters for us. Very good, thank you. And if we click on flatten, it will generate a nice waveform for us. And that means we can skip to any part of this build-up now and play it. We don't have to go back to the actual start because we've got a sample for us. What I think I might do here is when this main drop happens, it's kind of muddy because this is building up right into the very last minute. So what we can actually do is cut it at a particular point. Maybe here, we could just cut it, see what it sounds like. Let's add in a really powerful snare. It's always a good thing to do. Where are our snares? Here it is. I'm going to create a new audio track below the snare. We'll go drop snare. And let's have a look over here in our samples. Go into the sample pack again, which is going to be on my website probably in the next week or two. Let's have a look down at our snares here. What have we got? See if we can find something with a lot of chunk. The toms. Sounds good. We've got a kind of a 80s vibe. Oh no. A bit of an 80s vibe going on here, or 90s. 90s more like, so some real cheesy synth snare. should go here. And we'll drag that sample out a bit more. I had a bit of a tom drum roll over here where the melody was happening. Where is it? Make this smaller. Where was it? Here. Let's put that over here as well. That snare now sounds out of place, but I thought it would be cool to reverse that and select like a whole bar just so it's easy to manipulate. Oops, actually forget that. We'll just drag this out so this snare is reversed and leads up to the drop. Maybe if we warp it and bring the pitch up. Maybe we'll have that leading up to where the toms happen. And of course we're going to need to create a big falling effect here, which we'll do in a second. Let's add a few more tom hits in here. Awesome, so let's create that falling effect now. So I'm going to create a new MIDI track. I'm going to call this Big Faller. And make this 4 bars long. Insert a MIDI clip, Command-Shift-M. And we'll make this a G, because we might use pitch with this as well. But first off, let's get some white noise happening. Always a good starting block with these things. So again, put in an operator, change it to noise. Let's use the filter, but let's make it a high pass filter instead. So a high pass filter lets through all the stuff in the high end, so everything within here, and we slowly open this down. So let's just modulate. Oh, I want to group this and use just one macro knob again. It's just fun doing it that way. So I'm going to map the frequency to the first macro. Make sure I do it properly. And this first macro, we want it to be high at the start. Get rid of this point. It will slope down. Let's make this a band pass instead of a high pass. So a band pass is kind of like a hill. So it's a little bit too high at the start, so I'm going to bring the maximum down to maybe 11.8 kilohertz. And let's give that operator a lot of spread, which spreads it out amongst the stereo spectrum. We could even add a delay here. So let's put a ping pong delay, and that's at 3/16 notes. It's got a filter. We only want it to be playing the kind of the high end. So let's bring it up here. This is another bandpass filter. Give it quite a lot of feedback. Dry wet 50%. So this will delay it left and right at 3/16 note intervals. Maybe at 4/16 note intervals, which is, I guess, 1 beat. Perhaps if we add a little bit of redux, again in soft sampling mode. Too much feedback on the ping pong delay there. Volume up. And I think we definitely need to put some kind of crash sample in there. So I'm going to go into my chain selector of this instrument rack. I'll just name it to Big Faller for now. Let's put in a sampler, like so. We'll call this crash, and this is noise. Go into our samples, see if we've got any nice kind of crashy sounds here. Let's see if we've got something else we can use. Splashes should have some good sounds in it. That sounds good. It's kind of a ride cymbal type thing. I'm going to change the root up so it plays the note a bit lower. That splash. Bring the white noise down a bit and bring the level up here. Maybe if we bring the root up a lot on this crash. That sounds cool. Over on this noise again, I want to use an auto pan, but I want to use it to rhythmically gate the volume of the music. So let's go all the way over to the end. We're going to add an auto pan. Turn it into sync mode so we can pick intervals that match up with the BPM. Turn the phasing off so it doesn't go left and right. Turn the amount up so it actually wobbles it left and right. But we're going to choose a saw down. So this is going to it's going to start the auto pan at a high level, fade it down, and then jump back up to high at 16th note intervals. Let's see what that sounds like. Maybe faster. That sounds cool. So I'm going to map the amount of that auto pan. Boom. Map it to that one as well, but I want it to go from... Oh no, I want it from 0 to 100. That sounds good. Let's have a listen. No, sorry, I got that wrong. These need to be split, so let's go auto pan amount. Minimum 100%, maximum 0%, so it slowly comes in over that clip. Very good, and let's add one more thing in there. Let's use an analog synthesizer as well. Now, analog synthesizer, basic subtractive synthesizer, but it's got a bit more of a character to it. That's why they call it analog. I guess they've tried to emulate the analog sound of an analog synthesizer. So let's just see how that sounds straight away. So the first thing I can hear is the amplitude envelope of this first oscillator. If I click here, it displays the amplitude envelope in the middle. You'll notice how it starts off and then decays down very quickly. So that's why we're not getting a continuous note that goes. So we can bring the sustain all the way up. Or not, let's bring it down, but let's bring the decay time longer. So the decay time is how long it takes from the first initial point to come down to the sustain point. Like so. I wonder if we can... Let's go into our oscillator area. Let's give the... Yeah, we have a pitch envelope here, so let's try that. That could be cool with some effects on it. Let's have a listen. change the shape to a saw. I'm going to bring the volume down of the analog. We need to give this quite a lot of effects to make it not so prominent. So maybe if we turn the filter on and choose a format, which just emulates the human voice box, it could be an interesting thing to play with. It's usually very loud though, so I'm going to turn it down even more. Bring the resonance up, which changes the vowel, I think. Let's bring the octave down. That kind of sounds cool, so let's go, we've got filters here as well. We can change the frequency modulation with an envelope, so if I bring the envelope amount up, which is this here, way too much, let's bring it down. Maybe if we add some resonance envelope as well, see what that does. Make it in the negative so it does the opposite. Kind of got a laser kind of sound happening here. Let's bring the octave down to 3, see what happens there. Play with this envelope a bit more, it's a bit weird. Maybe too much envelope on the frequency. Maybe even make the decay time longer. We can change the decay here, or we can click and drag the point. I think that would sound good with a Redux as well. Redux really kind of emphasized kind of vocal sounding synths. It's a cool sound, but it's probably not appropriate. Let's have a listen. Maybe a delay after that could make it sound better. We'll try a delay and a reverb. That's kind of cool. Try 1/16 notes, that could be interesting. 2/16 notes. Definitely the triplets. Bringing the bandpass filter up a little bit so it only delays the high stuff. That's cool. So by changing that frequency slightly, it's sustaining at a tone. Let's put a frequency shifter at the end. We'll map that again to that macro, but we want the minimum, the maximum frequency to be 0, and we want it to come down maybe 1,000 hertz could be interesting. That's kind of cool. It's pretty cheesy, but I like it. Final thing I want to do is exit map mode, and we're going to sidechain this like we did in the first video. I'm going to create a compressor, and we're going to open it up. This is after everything. We don't want to include it in the rack. We're going to go sidechain, take the sidechaining audio from the kick drum, and have the threshold. We'll just bring the threshold down for now. This ducks all of the sound from the kick drum. So let's play it all at once. Not bad. we're going to automate this threshold so that, let's say, there isn't any at the start and it quickly drops down. Just so we get that hit, that initial first hit. What I might even do there is bring this back to where the toms start. And we've got this screaming synth thing happening. Where's that coming from? Here. Let's just get rid of that as well. Maybe too much downsample. I think I want to add one more clean crash sample to that. So let's have a look. See if we've got any good crashes. Snares, no. Machine drum has some crashes. Let's go with that one. I'm just going to chuck it in completely raw, see what it sounds like. We got to bring the root key up. Playing with the levels. And we'll give that crash some reverb as well. 4 chains, that's quite a lot for this kind of thing, but it's working. Maybe bring the root key down a bit. Right, let's have one more listen to that. I'm going to go back to the start of the drop. Okay, that sounds good, but I think now that we've entered this kind of area here where just the toms are playing, I think there's some overlapping for a start with this lead synth, which I might actually change at some stage, but not for this video. I think because this synth has a reverb for lots of stuff, it's bleeding over into that tom. So what I might do is I will find the volume of something in here. EQ8 has a volume, so I'm going to select the gain, and where these toms happen, I'll put in a locator marker. Toms. Where these toms are happening, I'm going to bring the volume down. It only goes down to 12. Let's move over to something else. We've got a utility here. We'll use the gain of the utility down to -35. So now that should cut out any reverberation of that synth line when those toms are playing. There's this synth as well, which is overlapping, so I'm going to bring that note back. And this has a filter delay. I'm just going to throw a utility after that. And again, select the gain, bring it down for the toms. It's delaying over here. So it's sending it to a return track here and here, which are two delays. So we need to turn the return track down for here, and we need to turn the return track down, the send for that one. So that's send A and B, we're turning them down for both of those. Starting to sound cool. One thing I thought we could do is over where we made the riser and the faller in the first video, we can actually borrow these and bring them over. So I'm going to copy those, and leading up to those toms, we'll paste them. Maybe not the faller, we'll just take the riser. So I'm going to copy that, go over here, click here, and paste it. Let's see if that helps. Oops, wrong place. Breakdown, toms. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. We're just working on the build-ups and the phrasing here. I think I would add some more melody into this breakdown. I'd introduce maybe a new element. Probably wouldn't have those synths kind of screaming so harshly, and I'd probably add something more on the drop. But for the actual rises and fallers, they're pretty good. So I am happy with that. Just like before, in the previous video, I'm going to save this live set as, this is Disco Tension number 3. And as I save that, Splice is going to pick that up, and it goes, right, there's a new version. We click here. I described the new version, so this version has the big build up and the big drop. Full stop, click submit. It's uploading my project, uploading all the samples, everything you need. It's all up there. And once that's done on my shitty internet connection, but it should only be a few minutes, that will be available on the Splice as a new version, completely ready for download. I'm going to make it public, so check out the description, check out Splice, go and download this right away, and you can see what I've done here. And we will be needing this project file for part number 3, which is coming up next. And it's going to be pretty complicated in the next one. We're actually going to build Max for Live, so I'm going to introduce you to Max for Live and what it is and how you can actually build your own machines to create things like this. So cheers, my name's Tom Cosm, and see you at part 3.